Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to talk about using Cricut Design Space in order to print your sublimation prints. Now there are benefits and drawbacks to using Cricut Design Space, probably more drawbacks than there are benefits. However, if you already know Cricut Design Space and know how to use it, it might be a great place to start printing your sublimation prints. Something you're familiar with and is easy is always a better option when getting started with something new. So if you're new to sublimation, Cricut Design Space might be the answer. It also might be the answer if you are just super confused about other programs, or if you need to just do a quick project. So I often use it actually to do like little customization things, and that's one of the examples I'm going to have, because it is quick and easy to do that, especially if you have something small and don't need to worry about filling up the whole page. However, with the new print and cut sizes in Cricut Design Space, they're new within the past year or so, you are able to print larger prints than ever before. So it might be a good option for you. So we're going to walk through how I would use it for sublimation and a design I would use. And then at the end, I am going to talk about issues that people have with color in Cricut Design Space. So you might want to stay tuned for that as well. When you begin in Cricut Design Space, you'll hit New Project to go to a new canvas. Now for the biggest print sizes, you would want to pick an Explore, Maker, or Venture machine. Now the sizes are going to depend on what your printer will print. So regardless of the sizes that are available, you can only print up to the size your printer can print. If you have a very large format sublimation printer, I would pick Cricut Venture from this menu. Now we're going to upload our image. So click Upload, Upload Image, and then click Browse and find it on your computer. I'm going to use this baby fox image for illustration purposes, and I do have it available for free. So you can scroll down to the description below this video and get the image for free. I generally pick complex. If you're having trouble with the image, you might play around with the image type and click continue. If you upload a PNG file, generally the background will already be removed. If it's not, you can use the background remover on this screen. For this one, if I zoom in, you can see that the little squares are all around my fox. That means that the background has been removed. I don't have to do anything on this particular image. Now, if the image is not checked in the background, if it's a color, if it's white, you might want to remove the background. You can do that a couple of different ways, and I do have a video on how to do that. However, briefly, there is an automatic background remover that is only for Cricut Access subscribers. You can manually select the background and erase different areas if you need to. For this image, I'm going to click Apply and Continue. Then it will pull up two different options, a cut image or a print and cut image. We want to choose the print and cut image. However, I do want you to look at the cut image. Does it look correct? Does the outline look correct? If it does not, the background was not removed correctly. So if you have just a square in this area and you want something that looks like what I have here, you would need to hit the back button and go back and remove the background. However, a square image would be fine if the background is white, since white doesn't sublimate anyway. Then to finish the upload, you'll click Upload. That process can take a varying amount of time depending on how large the image is. Once you get to this screen, find the image, click it, and click Add to Canvas. Now I have a warning on my layers panel because my image came in very, very large. I also want to note if your image is large, you will get the red triangle that indicates that your image is too large to print with Cricut Design Space. You will have to either use another program to print it, reduce the size, or divide it up into different pieces. I frankly don't recommend dividing up into different pieces, especially in Cricut Design Space. So I do have another video on sublimating projects that are larger than the printer you have, and I will link to that in the description below this video. The first thing I'm going to do is size my image for the blank that I'm using. So my image would probably need to be about 2 inches. First of all, you can use these buttons down in the corner to zoom out. You can grab the corner and drag to resize your image. As long as this locked button is locked, it will keep your proportions the same. If I know the width that I want it at, say 2 inches, I can change that here instead, and I can zoom back in to see the image. When you click on the image at this point, it'll tell you how large it is. So it's basically 2 by 2, and you can manually measure the blank to see if this works for your blank. So I find one of the benefits of doing sublimation within Cricut Design Space is that first I can kind of mock up a template. I don't have a template for this blank. However, it's approximately 2¼ by 2¼ inch square. So I can pick shapes, pick the square, make this 2¼ by 2¼ and it's actually at an angle, so I can rotate this to 45 degrees, or I want my image to be on an angle. And then to see it a little better, I like to change this to white, and then arrange and send to back. And now I can put my image over this, and I can see exactly how it's going to look. Now my keychain also has a hole at the top, so I'll need to account for that. However, looking at this, I can get a good idea of how it's going to look. And then I would just delete the square back off before I print it. Now another benefit of doing sublimation within Cricut Design Space is that it's super easy to customize this. So let's make this a customized keychain by clicking the text option and typing a name. We can resize this name. We can change the font. The font name I picked is shown on the screen if you want to use that exact one. Then I can change the font color. So I can click the color here and I can change to a variety of colors, even clicking advanced and starting to pick from a variety of colors in this area. So I used a dark teal for my font, and I'm also going to go down here and combine and weld this font just to get rid of those kind of the lines in between there. They may or may not print, but I always get rid of them just so I can get a good idea of how this is going to look. Now I can resize this. I can rotate it. If I have a Cricut Access subscription, I could even warp it into different configurations. I could do an offset around it. I could do a variety of things to this name to sort of customize it for the look I want to go with. I'm going to stick with something fairly simple and add my name just at the bottom. Now I want to click the square and I want to get rid of it because I don't want that to print. And then I'm going to pick everything that's part of my design and click flatten. That one button turns this into a print then cut image. So now it will print on any printer that I choose, including a sublimation printer. Now I'm not going to use the cut option for this. There's no reason to cut if you're just transferring to a regular sublimation blank. If you're using something like Caesar Easy Subli, you might want to use the cut option of the Cricut program to cut the Easy Subli material. And I do have another video on that if you want to see how that's done. Next, we will want to check for your account what the paper sizes are. So if you'll go up here to your name and pull down and click Settings, then go over to the Load Type tab. I want to do 8.5 by 11 inch letter paper. If I had a printer that printed other sizes of paper, I could choose those from these options. Now, one of the drawbacks of using Cricut Design Space for sublimation is that you only have the options that are listed. You can't make custom paper sizes for things like mug size paper, or if your machine can handle a bypass tray and can print a very long print, that would not be an option. So I'm going to use 8.5 by 11 and click Done. Now I'm going to click Make. Now this is what your screen should look like. So it should look like a printed image. You can actually increase the number of copies here and click Apply if you wanted to make more than one. I only want to make one. Another drawback of using Cricut Design Space for sublimation is that it's always going to print these registration marks. The registration marks are technically for the Cricut to cut the image. We're not going to use that feature, but you can't turn the registration marks off. For now, we're going to click Continue. And now you don't even have to hook up a Cricut machine. So my computer is looking for my Cricut machine, but I don't have to connect it. That means you do not have to have a Cricut to use Cricut Design Space for sublimation. All you do on the screen is click Send to Printer. Now I'm going to print this on my Brother sublimation printer, and I'm going to print it out of Cricut Design Space and another program just to see if there's any color differences between programs. If you are not going to cut the image, always turn bleed off. That is very important when using Cricut Design Space for sublimation. Then you want to click Use System Dialog to pull up the dialog box for your printer and click Print. Now you would just pick the settings for whatever printer you're using, whatever settings you usually use to print. For the Brother sublimation printer, I choose Transfer as the paper type, that's the only option, and I choose Normal for quality. If you're struggling with print settings, I do have another video for that, and I will link to that in the description below this video. The number one thing you want to do is make sure your image is mirrored. I like to mirror my image on this box. So I like to use the printer dialog box to do my mirroring. You can mirror your image in Cricut Design Space by either flipping on the canvas before you click Make, or after you click Make, there is a mirror option. If you mirror two places, then your final print will not be mirrored. So be sure you're only mirroring in one location. Pick the location you're going to mirror and always use that. Then once I have all that done, I'm going to click Print. One of the other drawbacks of using Cricut Design Space for sublimation is that you can't save out your design. So if you just wanted to design your image and then save it out at this point and not print it with the registration marks, there's not a great way to do that. One hack for doing that is to click Send to Printer in this area, remove bleed, click Use System Dialog, and this is if you are on a Mac. If you're on a PC, if you pull down Printer, it'll say like Save to PDF in these options. If you're on a Mac, you'll click Print here, and then you'll click the PDF option here, and you will save it as a PDF file. Now that saves it as a PDF file that still has those registration boxes on it. The only other way to save out a Cricut Design Space would be to do some kind of screen capture in this area. Those do not result in very good prints or high quality prints, so I really don't recommend it. However, if you were going to do that, head to your name up here, click Settings, then you would head to Canvas and you would turn off your grid and click Done. Then you would have a blank area where you could use some type of screen capture software to take a photograph basically of your screen. To do that, I would probably zoom in and make this as large as possible to get as good of a quality as possible. However, that means you're going to have to use another program in order to resize the design again to fit your sublimation blank. So I personally do not use this method because of the low quality resolution and the fact that I would need to use another program anyway. So first things first, when you use Cricut Design Space for sublimation, you will want to cut around your image and leave the registration marks on the paper. Like you don't want to sublimate those to your blank. Unless you do, perhaps you like that look, then you can leave them, but I always cut around them. So now I sublimated 2 of the same keychain. I sublimated one that I printed out of Cricut Design Space. You saw me add this name. And then I printed one out of another program. I didn't even bother to add a name because I just want to compare the colors, and I didn't know if I could get the color accurate on this one for the name. So frankly, for me, with the Brother sublimation printer, these both look amazing. I don't see any differences in the colors. The colors really pop on both of these sublimation blanks. All right, so as you saw, my colors were pretty good out of Cricut Design Space. I do think it's going to depend on the printer you have, however. I have heard of tons of people having issues with color out of Cricut Design Space, and that includes like dull sublimation. I do think it relates back to Epson EcoTank conversions for the most part. So in Epson EcoTank conversion, there are a variety of color issues with it, and you do have to play around with your settings in order to get your colors correct. Cricut Design Space could be throwing that off. So you can either export it as a PDF, as I've showed in this video, and print it as a PDF, or learn a different program for things like customizing like I've shown in this video, and use it instead. So I am definitely not saying that Cricut Design Space is the answer for printing your sublimation prints. It is a great option if you're a beginner and familiar with Design Space, but I definitely would not choose it out of all the free programs that are out there. I would choose a different free program, and of course, I have a video with tons of free programs that you can use to print your sublimation prints, and I'll link to it in the description below this video. So if you're willing to learn something new and want a better program option, one of those might just be for you. So for now, hopefully you learned something about using Cricut Design Space for sublimation. If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.